Welcome to the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast, an unfiltered look into the global vacation and short-term rental industry.
I'm Mateo Bradford.
And I'm John Stokinger.
And this is our podcast. We bring the right people to the table at the right time, giving you an inside view and take on the short-term rental industry like no other podcast can.
Morning, Mateo. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm fantastic. Happy belated Father's Day to you, sir.
Yeah, back at you. We got three dads on this call today, and we're excited to go. We'll introduce our guests in just a second. Season 2, episode 29, 59th episode in total. I can't believe it. We're crushing. Things are good. We went through a run with a sponsor, and we got new sponsors starting next week. Excited to go ahead and share that news with you all here real soon.
Super grateful.
Okay, I can share right now. They already signed. Casago is joined with us, so a little shout out to them. We also have Beyond has come on board to sponsor the podcast, so we're super excited about that. And we have one more that is in the hopper that we'll share soon. So we have the trifecta powerhouse sponsorship.
And so really grateful, man. Isn't this highlights of my week, man. Shout out to all of the support from the community out there. We appreciate it. And gosh, wait till you see what's coming. It's
we're super excited. We got some top secret shit in the coming out over the holidays. We got some big things, but let's get into it. We have the managing partner, co-founder of Island Time, Mr. Dru Brown, joining us today. Thanks so much for joining us, Dru. Appreciate you.
Yeah, so happy to be here, guys, and congratulations on all the success. Well deserved, and I'm glad to see more folks are stepping up to the game to support y'all.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's when you jump into this and you don't really know if it's going to take off or not, but you want to do it a little bit different than everyone else, and you don't necessarily want to do tips and tricks, and you want to kind of dive into the culture and dive into like the thread of what this really is. Not just it's more than just business. There's a lot that is business, but there's the news and culture of it. And is it going to take off? And it has. So we're really stoked about it. But this is about you. You've had a pretty wild ride. I've known you. Well, I think I met you that first year I came to space when I was trying to get you to come over to Ascent. And
how many products has John sold you on? No, how many products has John sold you? Or attempted to sell you?
He's called on me at least 4 different products.
Well,
he's so persistent. Shout out to you, John. There you go.
Well, it's in all fairness, every product that I have gotten behind, I've 100% believed in, and it's a solid product. I'm not here doing the used car. Nothing against used car salesmen, because that's a damn hard job, but that's not how I roll. But let's talk in the beginning, Dru. Let's go back to the beginning. I'm looking at your LinkedIn here, and I see Voorhees project analyst, like back in 2000. So you and we're all of a similar age. We don't necessarily have to go ahead. We're all dads. We're all of a similar age. We all graduated high school around the same time. You went to Ohio University. Great. You get out of that and you start working as a project analyst. How do you go from a project analyst and then going into working, in vacation rentals, short-term rentals? Like, how does that happen? Let's talk about how you stumbled.
Yeah. So it's totally a kind of a crazy story. So, my family has been visiting Hilton Head in some form or fashion since 1967. So my grandparents found this place, started taking my parents, and then, well, after we were all born, they started bringing us down here. So I spent a lot of my summers on Hilton Head. So at the time, the whole point of going and working at a big firm, that firm I worked for was 5 buildings in 1 block in downtown Columbus, Ohio. So huge law firm. Hundreds of partners, thousands of support employees, one of the larger firms in the Midwest, and had offices in Alexandria, DC, Cincinnati, Columbus was home base, and then Cleveland. And so really the whole goal was to go to law school. So I got out of school, I graduated with a couple of degrees, and decided I'm going to fight the good old fight and go to law school. And so got some great experience, doing that. And then halfway through probably my biggest project there. We were working for a large defense on a national claim for some trademark rights, and we ended up getting so I did a lot of research, mock trials, and so we won the case, and so they said, hey, we're going to give you 2 weeks of vacation, and I said, great, that's awesome. We've been killing hours, and
Right.
so I said, where am I going to go? I went down to Hilton Head, but in the process of me coming down to Hilton Head, I found out that I got into law school. So ended up getting into law school, and they said, hey, you can come to night school right now if you want, or you can wait a year and come to day school. And having worked in a law firm, seeing people that tried to do night school, I knew it was just an absolute bear. So I said, all right, cool. I got a year to burn. I was on vacation in Hilton Head,
Right.
and said, why not?
Screw it.
Yeah, just go for it. I got a year to burn. I'm gonna live at the beach, be a beach bum. Literally, that's what I used to call myself, as a beach bum. And so, talk about being truly blessed. I started to interview for some jobs, and I met my first mentor, Carl Sneed, and we bonded instantly. Had an instant connection. But he was, the GM at the time for a company, and he offered me a job, and I knew once I got down into Hilton Head and started getting into hospitality and tourism and learning the business, I had instantly fell in love.
Yeah.
Loved the challenges, loved how different it was, and frankly, I loved to learn. He was a great guy. He still sells real estate here on the island, for Charter One, and taught me everything he knew. And for that, I really appreciate it. I think that, as we all know, you find people along your path that you need to be grateful for, and he's definitely one of it. And then the other would be Brett Frederick for me. It'd be Beach Properties. He was a fabulous mentor. But so the deciding factor was, I was about a week away from having to go back to Ohio to go to law school. No joke, true story. Sitting in the Atlantic Ocean surfing, and just deep in thought. I had a crew of friends. We would surf in the mornings before we go to work, and I'm just trying to really think. Is this what I want? I'm going to go back. It's going to be this hustle, and it's going to be, trying to get, internships and clerkships, and then go into partner track, and then it's like you're going to dive in for the next 10, 15 years of your life, maybe 20 years of your life, and you're just not going to look up. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, oh man, what do I do? And no joke, a dolphin jumps out of the water right next to me. And I was like, all right, I got you.
Nice.
So just decided to stay in Hilton Head, and, I've just been lucky to have some great opportunities come across my path. And here we are now.
What happens when you listen to the universe, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm a big believer.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that story. So you were with, you started off then, from there, Coastal Home and Villas, you
Yep.
spent another 2 or 3 years with them after that, and before moving on to Beach Properties Hilton Head, correct?
Yeah. So that kind of started a whole process of, that was also when bigger players started to come into our market. So Coastal Home and Villa was then sold to another company, which then was eventually bought by Vacasa, and Beach Properties was purchased by Town Bank.
Right.
And just in each opportunity, was able to help grow the businesses and do what I could to help the entire teams, and then got onto the vacation company, and then was able to be in a position now where Eric and I, my business partner, our CEO, have launched our own company, and it's insane. Got almost 20 full-time employees, 27 with part-time. Buying vans, just starting to get into the crux
Right.
of the business, and really take a beating on everything, but just loving it. It's been a really interesting market the last couple of years. I don't know of anything except for market volatility as a business owner, because I started the company in late 2019 with Eric. So, we're just in this position where had COVID, got through it, did great. Now going through some tough challenges in terms of market conditions, and so. But no, it's all been a tremendous blessing.
Can we talk about, or not? If we can't, that's fine. Can we talk about your your run at the vacation company, and leaving the vacation company, and how you left the vacation company, and what got you to start and say, screw it, we're doing this,
Yeah.
Can we dive into that at all? Because it's an interesting story, but I don't know how public it is.
Yeah.
So I'd love to chat about it with you.
Yeah, no, happy to share about it. Having gone to the vacation company, having been in a situation where the last two companies had been purchased, from the beginning, I had talked with their owners about trying to, purchase the company. And we had a lot of success very, very quickly there. I think we added more than 150 properties in less than 3 years, and all really, really high end caliber real estate. And so we just got into a position where at that point, I really wanted to see if it was going to be possible, to see if I was able to, purchase the business. And it just, frankly, it just didn't work out. The owners didn't necessarily agree, which happens.
Right.
You think you've got something going on, you think you've got something planned, and that's just the way that it goes. Frankly, it wasn't the first time that happened to me. It happened to Beach Properties with Town Bank as well. The GM and I were trying to purchase the company there, and it just didn't work out. And this time I had been far enough down the road to have a business partner and to have funding and to be in a great position where we were ready. We thought we were signing a deal.
Right.
We had a good bit of due diligence there, and it ended up not working out. And they're still thriving, doing well, and wish nothing but the best for them. But Eric and I saw it as an opportunity and said, do we really want to turn around and try and go buy somebody else, or do we want to do what we want to do? And for us, we were able to really put our footprint in the marketplace and really put our own stamp on what we want to try and do. It's super impressive to see changes in market reactions to things that you're doing, and that's, to me, really probably the best part about it, because what it's done is just made our destination a whole entire better place. Everyone up on their game and doing as best they can. But you live and you learn. I definitely learned a lot from that experience, and taking into this experience and taking into what we're doing here at Island Time, it's been so unbelievable to see. You mentioned culture in the very beginning, just to see the ability to create your own culture and really find those that don't just believe, but they buy in. And I've got a great staff right now that does that, from our management team all the way down to people that started within the last week. So real big believers in trying to create a really solid culture that can bleed into everything that you do. And that's just so hard. I mean, you guys know it's so hard, especially as you grow. Some of the most difficult challenges as you grow is keeping that, not, I always say it's not a standard for perfection. It's just a standard. We want to have want to have a process in place so that you guys know exactly what our expectation is. So, but no, it's been pretty awesome.
I think it can't be underestimated either. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to bet on yourself and do something about it. Right. Like, I think, we talk to a lot of people who come on this show, and I think, we highlight the successes, right? But one of the things that is reality, right? Like, there's a tremendous amount of risk in these decisions.
100%.
Right? And it takes a tremendous amount of courage that I don't think you can understand unless you really put yourself in those shoes, like what that weight feels like and what that, but you're also 100% the beneficiary of it, also, of all your work, right? Of everything that you put in and what you're building and the culture that you're continuing to try to build, but you are building within that space. I just think it can't be understated. And I just want our listeners to know that that's, John said it, there's a situation around it, but like understanding what that act truly is. And, a lot of people buy and sell their businesses in our industry, right? But, people look at the people who've built something from the ground up, right? Who have actually gone out and built something from the ground up, and you look at where those names are. And I think there's something you said to that. So,
it's absolutely amazing. And let's talk about like how exponentially quickly you built this business from, I think when you started, I think you had 6 or 7 properties. So you're like, screw it.
Started with 0.
Right.
First month.
You had like 6 or 7. And then, and that was back again. What was that date? Let's talk date. Let's talk numbers.
So the first day I was in the office was September 23rd, 2019. We really didn't get up and running with everything probably until we kind of say that was really the infancy, and we didn't really get anything going until November. So, by the end of 2019. Yeah.
Okay. So, and now how many doors do you have right now?
We have under contract 119, another probably, as we say, another 4 under the elbow, about ready to sign. And then we do have mixes of other avenues of business. So it's been pretty insane, So we turned 3 years old in September, and we'll probably at that point have somewhere between 125, 150 properties. So the interesting part about that too is we have a somewhat different philosophy in the sense of we let the guest and the brand dictate what type of properties we're going to recruit. So we don't just take every single property under the sun. We're always trying to constantly involve the brand to be more higher end, more upper scale, more luxury oriented. We were the originators of concierge services. I have an in-house concierge here on staff. Adding a different element to certain types of things. It's kind of cool when we're going up against some pretty high powered properties, and when you lose out to Inspirato, it's like, okay, all right, we're doing something right. It's not. It's not a bad thing because they get paid. They got to pay them. I'm not paying them. They're like, we want 6+ figures, and I'm like, good luck. So, I ain't got that kind of backing. So, but yeah, but that also then kind of, like you said, it's this huge cycle. And Mateo, you absolutely said it. When you build something, you're in this position where there's so much chance and there's so much risk. But when you can use that risk to position yourself differently than the competition, and it is successful, you're so much further ahead. We're just trying to continue to evolve, and I think that's the hardest part about growth is you end up having service gaps, and you end up being in a position where inevitably you fail on something, and it's how you respond to that level of failure that really is something that we've kind of had to change in our culture. Is you're either winning or you're learning. You're not, nothing is a loss. It's just, you take those situations and try and learn from them every day.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy.
We go ahead and, in me, like I have so many balls in the air all the time, and like balls get dropped, and it's like, how do you respond to that ball that was dropped, and how do you pivot from that? Do you just pick it back up and keep going, or because when a ball is dropped, someone is disappointed, so how do you go ahead and it's your response, it's how you go ahead and handle it. It's interesting. And I think that everyone can go ahead and learn a little bit about failure is, and I don't want to say failure, but is okay if you learn from it and you do the right things. Like no one's 100% successful all the time.
Right.
It's
how you move forward.
And you're going to learn, and you're going to grow, and you're going to expand. It's tell us more about, the experience. You're building a brand, and we talk a lot about brand here on the show. At first it was Island Time Hilton Head, now it's Island Time. But let's talk about the brand. But you're talking about an experience that you're doing and what you're offering. You're talking about a concierge services. Like what are the differentiators that Island Time is bringing to the island that others aren't? And where are you going to go from here?
So definitely happy to talk about where it started, where it went. Can't always tell where we're going to go because too many people might be listening.
Yeah.
But in a sense, so we looked at it, and when we launched the company, we had this concept of creators of coastal lifestyle, and what did that really mean to us? And we first identified our ideal client. Who do we want to be representing? And then, how do we take that and make it so that there's how do we take that and then turn that into finding your ideal guest? And so, going throughout that process was really huge to us. We identified certain brand markers that people associate with. Again, if people aren't doing that in their business, they really, if you're listening, you really should be. If you don't know who your ideal client is, and just from a marketing perspective, that's you need to take the time to do a brand study and really work with some professionals that can help identify certain key markers. But having done that, we said, okay, if we could plan an ideal vacation, what would it include? Well, it would include having a chef come home, and having meals prepared, or having the fridge full when you come in town, having an arrival meal ready for you when you actually arrive to the property. Things like boat charters, having that set up so that you don't have to worry about it if you wanted to go fish. Having all of your stuff, or a beach destination, having all your stuff for the beach ready for you and handpicked for you. So, if one set of guests really want to use all bikes, they can use all bikes. If you've got people on the properties on the water and they want to paddleboard, do different things kayaking wise, do that as well. Transportation, we do live on an island, so setting up, things like transportation to get back and forth to not only the airport, just around the community. Right. And then really then tying in the actual, Hilton Head's such a massive destination for, arts and cultural heritage. Juneteenth means something, completely different here with historic Mitchellville than most places. I mean, this is where Freedom Town started. I mean, legitimately. So, paying homage to, the Gullah Geechee corridor and being able to use the Office of Cultural Arts and Affairs here on Hilton Head to really get people involved with what Hilton Head's all about. So we kind of took all those factors and then put it together and created our own individual program. And legitimately within, 6 months, every company on the island had some different form or fashion of what they would call, concierge services. So imitation is the highest form of flattery. I say that to everybody listening, just because somebody ends up trying to do something you're doing, understand that if you're doing it right and you're doing it well, that's all that matters, and then, you can do it. And probably, one of the biggest things that you said, and it's probably some of the best business advice I've ever been given from, my business partner, Eric Murray, was when you are everywhere, you are nowhere. So when you try to do that, John, you mentioned that. And for me, when I have those situations where something has happened, and especially when we looked at starting these types of things with our business, we said, start small, do it excellent, expand. Do that excellent, expand. Do that excellent, expand. So excellency is really what you have to master before you can do it. And that's what I had to do. Super hard for me. I had to pull back and say, what do I have to focus on? Because I'm having things. And then I use that as an opportunity with our team and our culture to say, I can't be everywhere. I need help. How you as a team and how do you help? And so now we've basically created very specific roles in our company to, again, having a concierge, having different people in marketing, having different people in guest experience, having different people in reservations, having different levels of property management, maintenance, so that we can really focus in and try and provide the best level of service.
And that's hard to do too, from a management standpoint, because I think that, like, as someone that's come in and you have your fingerprints, and you and Eric have your fingerprints all over this, right? It's like to do exactly what you're saying, you have to hire people that are as smart or smarter than you to go ahead and actually build what you're trying to build. If not, you're never going to actually get there. But that's hard from a standpoint, because there's some ego. There's a little bit of like, hey, I built this, and now now I'm just letting go and trusting someone that you hired because, hey, I hired because this is the smartest damn person in the room, and I want them on my team. That's sometimes hard to do. And, I applaud you for that. And I encourage other people to always hire the smartest talent, the most driven talent. It's just going to help you in the long run.
Well, and too, where the company started to where it is now, obviously, there have been changes in what we do and how we do it, even with some of the employees. And, it's one of those things where, I would take this opportunity to thank everyone that's ever worked, with or for us here at Island Time, because, they had some type of indelible mark on the business. Whether they're with us anymore or not is different, because to your point, when you're hiring a team and needs change and things, everyone has to evolve, and sometimes people do evolve and sometimes people don't. And you just have to be, I have with our senior management, our job is to see the forest through the trees. We have to be able to show people the path, and be able to walk the path. But when people get off that path, it's an understanding of, can they get back? Can we continue to lead them? And can they help us be successful? And I think that's the hardest part of owning a business. I think that for me, if you would have talked to me, 3 years ago and starting a business, I would have never thought that having employees would be the most difficult part. And it really is. Not in a bad way. It's just, again, as you continue to grow, I've got, 20 different souls out there with different mindsets and different upbringings and different backgrounds. And how do you, bring those people into one cohesive group that want to help and impact not only your business, but help and impact each other? And I think that's where we're at now, is trying to work on that the most. And that's just from, again, learning, I won't say we've made mistakes, but we're definitely learned.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
You are also, this is a big focus for you, but you are also heavily involved with VRMA. You are on the board of directors. You are the treasurer. You've moved your way up through VRMA. Do you have higher aspirations of being getting to the top? We know there who's coming up next, but do we see Dru making a push in the near future? And what has that done for you? And what do you think you're offering to the VRMA?
Well, I'll never get on a soapbox and ask for a vote or a candidacy. But if it was something that the LDC and the executive membership and executive committee asked of me, I would probably say yes. For me, it's all about impact. You two of all people know, personally, some of what my aspirations have been ever since, I was involved with the membership committee. I still think that probably one of the greatest things, that I've been able to help along is the DEI subcommittee. I think that, you two both are champions of that cause. And I have, taken that personally into my life, into my business. And again, I think that as we go forward as an organization, to be industry wide and worldwide, there's a lot of factors that from a DEI perspective that really play into it. So it's, being, I think that most people don't understand, being on the board is, it's a volunteer position. And so you're being asked to pilot a much larger ship than your own ship. And you have to be able to, and I think you both know just from my personal involvement, you have to be able to, like you said, you got to check some of the ego at the door and just say what's really for the good. What's for the good of the good and what's for the good of the industry. And trying to do, necessarily what's right, but understanding that you're going to have opinions and ideas on every side of it. And I think I've just been able to, somewhat handle both sides of issues and be able to, really use the mindset of, what do we really want to try and get out of this conversation? What's the goal? And have a shared pool of meaning in that conversation so that you guys, so that when you're in these positions, you can understand what's trying to happen, what's really transpiring here, and so for me, that'd be something that if it came along, great, not the end of the world. For me, I think that if I could be in that position, I think I would have, some things that, again, I think we'd love to push some DEI through. I really think that we've got to, as an industry, we've really got to push education certification, just to try and really professionalize the industry. As being a member of the board, I travel a lot and I have a lot of interaction with different companies and all throughout, the United States, Europe, et cetera. There's a whole different level of standards. So as we continue to wade into these deeper waters with all of this equity money and different acquisitions, and now, we've got IPOs and several companies and possible other IPOs coming, there's going to only be a wider and brighter light being shed on the industry. And I think that if we can again use education certification as good components, the sky's the limit for everybody. All it does is lift up our entire industry. So
100%, it needs to be accessible, and that's in using VRMA as a tool or accessibility tool to those that are coming into the space that might not have known that these are the actual standards. These are not only the standards because this is what the guests want, but these are the standard because this is what government regulations want and need. And this is why advocacy is so important. And I understand these past couple of years have been a huge advocacy push because it's necessary, but like there has to be, this personal opinion here. It has to be it can't just be advocacy without the education. It can't just be education without the advocacy. It needs to be a solid push from both directions to really make it accessible for everybody, while also supporting, these towns and these communities that are scared. They're scared that we're coming in and as a vacation rental, industry, and we're gonna fuck up their town, for whatever reason.
Well, you got everything from saying we're going to take away housing,
right?
We're taking away additional jobs, or tax basis, or some of those things. And you're right, John. When you get into all of those aspects, the thing that reason why education, not only for the industry, is so important, having dealt with the advocacy issue on my front here, locally on the island, it's about educating the community.
100%.
People just really don't understand, here we are in a position where we did a statewide economic impact study. Hospitality and tourism provides $4 billion a year in economic impact to our state.
With a B.
Yeah, with a B. And then, just our little local area, little Hilton Head Island area, is 1.1 billion. And it's like, again, with a B, but yet we got people still talking about, regulations and different things. And it's like, I can understand it. When you talk about a quality of life, where advocacy is going is more about the ecosystem, the ecosystem of the community, the ecosystem of, the actual industry, and then the ecosystem of how it impacts guests. So, we've just got to do a better job just in totality of trying to educate and inform as best possible. I totally agree with you.
It's a long road. Yeah, we're in a marathon here.
Question then, and so I agree with everything you said. With your experience with VRMA and the others, what has been the barrier that's prevented like VRMA from, or any of the advocacy groups from coming out and really being that voice, right? That source of education, like stepping up, with the resources you have nationally and internationally, right? Like, what's been the barrier to, when people are having these conversations and having these discussions, why weren't we the lead? Like, why weren't we the ones in there? Why weren't we quoted in the media? Why aren't we in a very large
totally agree with
down to the microscopic scale? I guess, and that's always been a question as someone that I haven't been in this industry for 10, 20 years, but I remember I saw a CNBC article one time, and I literally wrote into the guy, like, why did you not reach out to VRMA? Why did you not reach out to these other groups? And he was like, who?
Right.
That was his response back to me. I wish I had that email. I probably should have.
Yeah.
But
and that's been such a big part of what we're doing over the last 2 or 3 years, with the collaborative, and having just raised, close to $500,000 in advocacy funds, because quite frankly, before all of this was done, there was no budget. There was, advocacy wasn't necessarily something that was done. And, I think that's where we as an industry need to focus on, our cohesiveness. We've got so many different other aspects of different, smaller pockets and of different, not trade organizations, but you've got different people with, frankly, different agendas. And so, we've been trying to do a really good job to say, look, here's the overarching agenda. You guys can all have your own little pools to play in below that, but this is where we have to come. And VRMA and Smith Buckland have done a really good job of starting to really push that. To your point, that's been the problem, is, trying to provide all of the information, quickly. So, that's where, again, personal experience with the state of South Carolina, but, we were able to put a very quick request in, to the Collaborative and into the VRMA Advocacy Fund, and they were able to fund a $25,000 economic impact study that was used all over the state for all different types of things,
Right.
which has now started more conversations, starting state coalitions. But to your point, Mateo, if we don't have people like that in every state, you can provide that information on a national level for them, and all the information that we have. We've got to have boots on the ground, so that would be kind of my message is, if you know that you're going to be part of that, please reach out to VRMA, or if you have something that comes out, please reach out. We do want to help. We want to be the leader in that voice, but by the time that we get it, that's the other thing is, when you should see some of these emails. When you get an email and there's 60 proposed short-term rental regulations in a week that have been proposed, there's a lot of work and research to say, okay, how many partners do we have in that area? How many members do we have? What's the scope of that? How do we prioritize? So I would just ask for those that are being impacted to get involved, so that we can be that helpful voice. But it needs to be more, to your point, Mateo, more industry cohesion. There's a lot of subgroups that have different things. Let's just all play, well in the sandbox together, so that we can get. And that's happening a lot of times especially with what we're doing, here. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, it's interesting. I just think it would be beneficial for everyone to see the leadership be more visible, right? Like the leadership of VRMA, like there's some incredible individuals who know the business aspect of this, who, again, and not pushing people out or saying it. I think it's always been one of the things that I've just wanted to see is just from that kind of outward leadership from the top. I think we would all benefit, right? In the industry. I don't know if that's a PR thing. But again, I just personally wish VRMA would be outwardly more vocal. And I understand it's not just as simple as, just get up and start speaking, but it would be great to start seeing that more often. Even I'll
come on the show anytime you want, guys.
Man, let's look again. I'm gonna put you in position. Don't watch.
But
and that comes from someone that's a member, and I believe in VRMA, and I'm working with VRMA, and I think this advocacy is great. But I also know that, like in my advocacy experience, like Atlanta, VRMA has been tremendously helpful with what we're doing and what's going on here in Atlanta, and we've had
I've been following you very closely.
Support, with what Amstra and Rich and Kathy and the team are doing down here. But the fact of the matter still is the majority of our membership doesn't even know who VRMA is.
Yeah. Well, I can always come over. I might have to take me out to dinner, but I'll come over there
I'm gonna take you out
and speak for you, man.
Anyway. Well,
that's true. That's right down.
Well, and I think that's the other part of like what we can do too is like, positioning people. We can help in positioning with them though. So I get it's not an easy solution. I think I'm just up here on my soapbox, wishing that, we could be that voice to go to.
Oh, me too, man. I mean, that's all that I want. I mean, and that would be the other reason why, you talked about if I would make a run for something, I would agree. I think that there's got to be more, cohesion across all the different elements, of our industry from top to bottom. And, why are we not getting, we've got a great aspect in VRHP. Why are we not, pushing that more? We are trying to do.
Shout out to Michelle Williams and everyone over there.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that whole, and I think that's the hard part about it too, is you start to get market penetration in some areas, but how do you do that across the nation? Because, I think, it's such a regional business everywhere,
Well, and to be fair, we've been through some pretty hard times overall in the past 3 years. And if you look at like this resignation, like era we have, like look at, VRMA is one aspect, and the backbone behind VRMA is Smith Buckland, and leadership and different things changed behind the scenes for them. And then you have to bring other people up to speed, So truly, with any good company or any great organization, you need solid people that are there, that have been there, that are fighting the fight together and know what they're doing. And there's been some turnover there. There's been a little bit of churn. And so now you got to get other people up to speed before then you can, I think that's been a little bit of the hiccup. This personal opinion here again, and I'm excited to see that solidify. And where we're going to go with it from here.
Yeah, and wouldn't disagree with that, and I think that, to your point, that you mentioned the resignation area. I love it. I'm going to use it because, I had hired a couple of different people this year, and when they're walking back into my office within a couple of months and saying, "Hey, I have to resign. I got offered this job for 30 grand more than what you're paying me," and it's like, good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I got a whole team. If I give you that raise, I got to give the whole team raises, and I can't. Then I don't make anything, and
Right.
it's not a nonprofit business, that we're in. So, but I get it. I totally get it. I think that you're absolutely right. What I would say, having recently been to the board meeting in Florida, it's a really solid team, and frankly, Smith Buckland's their executive level is involved. We had we had two executives from Chicago fly in just for our meeting to kind of go over just those types of things and show us exactly what they're able to do. So, shout out to Mike O'Brien and his team. They've done just an absolute amazing job. And again, I think that part of this message too is we need to see not just the same old faces getting involved. We as we continue to get into new markets, new companies, we need to have more and more people involved, because that's the lifeblood. Because to your point, VRMA is an overarching industry organization, but we all have to run our businesses first, to be able to make that industry organization successful.
Dru, thanks so much, man. What's we could talk forever. I know we got some hard stops coming up here.
Definitely gonna get
but I guess the one last thing I'd love to, you said you really can't get into, I want to bring this back to Island Time. You really can't get into where you're going too much, but you have some big plans. We're excited to see them come to fruition, and love seeing your success in what you're doing, and just the best of luck to you on Hilton Head and when VRMA, and we're in your corner. We appreciate you joining us on the pod.
Yeah, and same for you guys. Anytime I can do anything for you, I think that's probably one of the biggest messages I would take away. I have had a lot of success, in my career, but a lot of it has had to do with getting involved and really trying to do all that I can to help both my industry and my organization. So, I would definitely tell people to check out VRMA. And again, I applaud both of you for continuing the efforts with everything you're doing with the DEI subcommittee and Margot and the whole crew. I just, that's the reason why I felt so comfortable in stepping away, because I knew everything was in such great hands. So nothing but great success for you guys and the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast. I'm so stoked for you guys. I appreciate it.
And I gotta say, man, like, you were a huge part of that. I don't know if the world knows how much, your support and your backing, really helped make those things happen. And it wasn't like you just set it up, you were participating. You've been at the events, you've been there. So just, grateful for your support in that fashion.
Yeah, well, we've all had conversations off the record, and my love for everything. So I'm just glad to hear you guys are able to get more seasons and get more podcasts. And it's I check it all the time. It really is. It's such a great conversation, and just a conversation that needs to keep going. So nothing but the best for y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.